Hello, everybody. So we are going to get started on what HR professionals need to know about the I-9 process for foreign workers. Part of the reason I'm doing this is because I've had so many questions from our clients about the I-9 process for foreign workers. And as I was preparing this webinar, I realized that, oh my gosh, there is a lot of pieces on the I-9 process that can be confusing when it involves a foreign worker. So there's a lot of content here that I've tried to make simple and for you to understand. And one of the ways that I find that is most helpful for all of us to engage in this webinars is actually for you to participate with me and to ask me questions and to comment and to share your experiences. And I am very grateful for some of you that, many of you actually, that send in questions ahead of time. And I have actually some of the ones that came in before, I have already incorporated the slides relating to those questions to answer them. So I will do my best to, again, answer the questions you have. So let me just start, because again, I want to get you engaged with, just put on the chat, what is one thing that you would like to understand better about the I-9 process, or what is the pain point for you on the I-9 process? So let me know what your thoughts are on the chat. And actually, by the way, also so that you know, and I'm going to get to that slide next, maybe, I think. Oh, no, it's after the next one. But Ellen from our team is here with me too, so she will help me with monitoring the chat. So come on, I don't see anybody there yet. So what is, why are you here? What would you like to learn? One thing that you would like to get out of this webinar, the time that you're going to be with me. I know that there's quite a few in here. Okay, here we go. Let us know what you would like to, so actually, let us know what you would like to learn about the I-9 process or any pain points. Do share. I'm waiting. Please tell me that you're listening to me. At least tell me that you're hearing me. Okay, one pain point is updating I-9 with the new work authorizations. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, and yeah, that is part of the process when we have foreign workers, or not foreign workers. Well, I guess most foreign workers are the ones that have either the EAD or the work authorization with certain limitations, and that's certainly the biggest thing that we're going to cover today. Okay. Anybody else? Come on. Just let me know that you're with me, or at least even say, yes, I'm listening. While I wait for you to put some more things in the chat. What if they don't tell us that there is a change in their status? Okay, good question. So, and I will address that too. So I thank you for putting those things in there, because we'll cover, I'll make sure that I cover those. And if not, I'll answer those to you later on directly to you. Okay, so here's what I'm going to cover. Let's do an I-9, just because many of you are at different levels. So I want to start kind of very quick overview from the beginning of what happens when you're doing the I-9 process. Then the verification for non-immigrant workers. So that is to, one of the pain points. How do I verify the non-immigrant worker, and how do I re-verify someone when they're expiring? Special situations for H-1Bs, which many of you have. Then also the F-1 students, which many of you are verifying at certain points of their F-1 status, and also employment authorization. So again, a lot of content, very much geared to foreign workers and those of you that hire foreign workers. So here is our core team. Many of you on the call or the webinar are our clients, and sometimes you don't see them because we're talking to you on the phone, but they're amazing. I'm very grateful to have an amazing group of ladies that are experienced, talented, and very passionate about what they do. Tyra, Ellen, and Daniela. So thank you, ladies, for doing what you do. So let's do, thank you. Yes, an excellent team. I appreciate that. And I am just grateful to have phenomenal clients. So it's all a beautiful teamwork. Another pain point is knowing what documents to attach to I-9 for foreign workers. And it's not always the more the better. Yes, very true. Cool. And that will be here. And again, please put those things on the chat because I will review what is there and questions that you have, points that you are not sure. If I don't address them in the presentation, I will address them for you, okay? Okay, so let me just go through an I-9 for a new hire, just again, general overview. And what you're gonna get at the end of this presentation is this slide here. We're going to send it to you as a PDF so that you can print it and share it with your team. Use it when people are doing I-9s. It's a kind of a quick cheat sheet to check. Okay, yes, this is there. Yes, it's amazing when I do I-9 audits. The stuff that just doesn't get filled out because they just don't have something to compare it with. So the foreign worker gets hired, an offer is given, the offer is accepted, the person gets the offer letter, everything is signed, and now they're giving an I-9 to fill out. So they fill out section 1. They will be given a list of acceptable documents that provides list A or list B and list C, and then they choose from that to present to you. So they fill out section 1, they sign, they date, they select their status, whether they're a U.S. citizen, a legal permanent resident, or they're in a status that has a limitation. So an alien authorized to work with the expiration date as applicable. And then it comes to you and you do section 2, which they will give you the 2 documents or the 1 or 2 documents that they're going to offer to show their identity and their work authorization. You're going to look at them. You're going to determine if you can accept them because they're either a list A or a list B and C document. You're going to put those in the section 2, complete the form. You're going to sign, you're going to date, you're going to include the day of hire. You're also going to include at the top of the page 2, the name of the person and their status. Actually, it's going to be a 1, a 2, or 3, or 4. So that's a general kind of idea of the I-9 process. And then, of course, when someone has an expiration of their status, then section 3 comes in play where you re-verify, and I'll go through that. Some tips: keep your I-9 separate from the personal file. Always use the latest version of Form I-9, which in fact, we're probably due for a new form next year. So we'll see what that is going to look like. Enter an A if it's not applicable. Use section 3 to re-verify. Use the same process for all new hires. And use the retention rule because you don't want to have documents in there that you don't need to keep. One of the issues that comes up, not just for foreign nationals, but it comes up with foreign nationals a lot just because they have different names and 3 or 4 last names and all kinds of things, but also people get married. So this was actually one of the questions that came in as I was preparing the presentation, and I was not going to address it, but again, thank you for those of you that submitted questions because this issue comes up as an I-9 issue in general. So what if the person put in section 1, for example, myself. So when I was, prior to my marriage, my name was Giselle Gutierrez. That was my last name. So let's say I fill out my section 1 and I just put Giselle Gutierrez. Or actually the other way around. Let's say I put Giselle Carson. But then when I come to section 2, I give you my driver's license that says Giselle Gutierrez and my social security card that says Giselle Gutierrez, because I haven't had a chance to renew it, or because I have, you know, with the pandemic, it's just taken forever to get the documents back, all those kinds of things. So can you accept a document with a different name and then the name entered in section 1? So that was my situation. Giselle Gutierrez in section 1, or Giselle Carson in section 1, Giselle Gutierrez in section 2 with the documents that I provide to you. The standard is if the document appears to reasonably relate to the employee. So you're going to look at my driver's license, you're going to look at me, and my driver's license is not too old. I look pretty similar to what I look like right now. So I think you would say, looking at the document and looking at me, the photo in the document and looking at me, that I will reasonably relate, or that document reasonably relates to me. So that is the test. So you could accept my driver's license with Giselle Gutierrez, my social security with Giselle Gutierrez, and attach a memo to the I-9. You don't have to, but it's a good idea, saying, you know, the documents appear to reasonably relate to the employee. They have a different name because of COVID delays. Candidate or employee has not been able to obtain updated documents. Or it could be, you know, document appears to reasonably relate to employee. Employee was married just prior to working with us, so she's using a new last name. And, you know, the documents were prior, the documents that she would say I gave you my passport. Again, my passport had Giselle Gutierrez. I had not been able to update it since I got married, or whatever it is. Then you can do this. And let's say employee may provide, again, they don't have to, but I could provide you with my new, with my marriage license or my marriage certificate to support this. So can you ask for a different acceptable document if the document with a different name does not relate, does not appear genuine to me? So let's say that, and literally this happens, you know, my Giselle Gutierrez driver's license, I've had it for the last 10 years with a picture that doesn't look anything like me. I had pink hair, it was long to my waist, I had glasses on. And you look at that and you look at me and you kind of go, I don't think that's you. In that case, yes, you can say, that does not appear to reasonably relate to you. Could you either get your driver's license updated or bring me a different document, because I cannot accept what you're providing to me? Does that help? Does that make sense? Let me know that you're with me. Awesome. Okay, thank you. Okay, now, a different situation happens. Well, not different. It's the same kind of scenario, but with a little twist. So now let's say that you have a name change and you are re-verifying or rehiring. So this is someone already, you hire them, they completed section 1, they completed section 2. So it was Giselle Carson all along. Now you come to re-verify me and I give you a document that again has a different last name. So in that situation, if you look at section 3, and I think I have a slide later on where I show section 3, so I can show you there. Then there is a block A on section 3 that actually allows you to write the new name in that section. Again, if in the situation that you're doing a re-verification, or when or why would you re-verify? I will definitely cover that in a second. Oh, so thank you. So in the case of a re-verification or rehire, there is a particular area in section 3 where you can note the new name. So enter the employee new name and block date, sign date, section 3. Could I ask the employee to provide legal documents showing the name change? Again, this is, it's not required. You could if you wanted to, okay? If the employee identity is different from where you used to complete I-9, again, the original hire date in section 2, keep the I-9s together and a memo. Employee should also update Social Security with, so this, the reason I put this in here, primarily for a lot, well, for more than an I-9 is for your payroll records and your wage filings and whatnot. For Social Security purposes and your deductions and things that you have to do, it's really as to the benefit of the employee and to you that they do go ahead and make the name changes, particularly with Social Security if they haven't done it. So that is something, if this scenario pops up in your I-9 world or anywhere else, it is a good idea for them to go and get it verified. But as I go through the presentation, I put this in here because of a question that I had. And again, I think I get it a lot, so it was good, but you'll see how this plays out as we go through these cases. Okay, so I'm gonna stop talking about just the general I-9 process, names, changes, and whatnot. Everybody with me? Awesome. Okay, cool. All right. So now I am going to talk about non-immigrant work visas. And again, because you're at various levels, I want to start from the beginning. Non-immigrant visas versus permanent resident versus U.S. citizen. Okay. The non-immigrants are your work visas, like I have them at the bottom slide here, the H-1Bs, the O-1s, the PNs, the P-1s, the L-1s, others. The list of alphabet, but these are the ones that most of you are typically going to see. Those are the ones that you typically need to re-verify because they have a limited employment. So they're limited to employment with a particular employer. They're limited to the length of a state or the validity of authorized employment and limiting the options that they can do. Those are your non-immigrant work visas. Then we have a permanent resident. So those from in the non-immigrant categories, the H's, the P's, the O, the L's, eventually they want to transition to permanent residency or green card. So green card, when they get to that level, is open employment. They're not allowed to vote. They're not allowed to have a US passport, but they do have a green card that in most situations you do not need to re-verify. Now, there are situations where permanent resident cards do need to be re-verified. I had so much content in here that I decided to leave that to a separate presentation. For now, do know that most of the green cards that you're going to see don't need to be re-verified, even though they will have, most of them are going to have their 2-year, the current ones, a 2-year or 10-year validity. As long as when you hire them, the card is valid, then you're good. You don't have to worry about verifying them again. But you do need to verify or re-verify your non-immigrants. And then eventually, again, the permanent residents typically become a US citizen, not all of them. Okay, so what is the status changes from permanent resident to citizen? Okay, yeah, good question. So that's exactly when you are a permanent resident, you as an HR professional don't have to worry about it anymore. If they got to that stage, say, and again, I'll cover this later on, but they were on an H-1B visa. The H-1B visa expired, I'm just going to say December 31st, 2021. The H-1B visa expired then. but now they got a green card before their expiration of the H-1B. And actually, this is, somebody asked me before, well, what if they don't tell me that their status changed? So this could be one of those situations. You have an H-1 that expires at the end of the year. You need to re-verify that person at the end of the year because you know their H-1B status, and you know you have a tickler system that lets you know, okay, this person needs to be re-verified. You don't know that they became a legal permanent resident because they did it through marriage. It wasn't employment based. They were married to a U.S. citizen and they had that process going on their side, which is fine. And they got a legal permanent residency card at the end of the summer. You don't know anything about it. But when you get to review or say, by the way, your H-1B visa is expiring in 100 days, and just FYI, I'm going to need to re-verify you. They say, oh, I forgot to tell you, I just got my green card. I am so thrilled. I don't have to worry about this anymore. The foreign nationals. And then you say, yes, I am so thrilled. I don't have to worry about this anymore either. So give me your green card. I'm going to, well, whatever, give me whatever documents they want to provide you. You can do a re-verification there. And it is, hopefully they'll give you the green card, but they don't have to. They can give you a valid driver's license and, a non-restricted social security card or whatever they give you. Typically it is the permanent residency card, and you do the re-verification and you're done. Put it away. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Does that answer the question? Oh, and okay, so then you're done. So if they become a U.S. citizen later on, you're done. Once you have the permanent residency card, you don't need to go back and re-verify them ever again. So they may become a U.S. citizen later on. And if they do, that's great. But for the I-9 purposes, you're good. In that situation, do you need to e-verify? You probably do, because, if you're saying from I-9 to do an e-verify, what is going to happen is that, again, your e-verify system is linked to your I-9 system. And this is one of the pain points of this process. That is double work for everybody involved. You do your I-9 and then you turn around and that data gets transferred over to e-verify. So e-verify is also going to have a tickler out there saying this person on H-1B status is going to expire and you need to verify them. So when you update your I-9 based on their permanent residency card, you are probably going to do the same thing again. So that cuts off that future verification. Okay. All right. So what does this look like? So for most of you, when you have a work visa, and many of you are going to be doing this pretty soon because the October 1st new start of H-1B visas, and it's going to happen in two ways. For some of you, the foreign national is already working with you on an employment authorization document. So this section of list A would have already been completed with their employment authorization document that they had for their F-1 OPT or F-1 OPT STEM or whatever they had. But say it's a brand new non-immigrant, for example, you are bringing into your team someone that already has an H-1B from a different employer. So they're coming into you. They may have an H-1B, they may have an O, they may have a TN, they may have something from a different employer, and they're transferring to you their work visa. So that is filed. They start working with you. It's one of those cases that you have to wait for the approval, and you give them the list of acceptable documents. And most likely what they're going to provide you with is the foreign passport. So a combination of documents is a valid foreign passport and their approval notice for that new H, new O, new P, new T, new L, whatever it is that the work visa is. So this is a sample of what that I-9 would look like for Section 2 for someone that is transferring to you or starting with you with a new work visa, okay? Document title, typically again, the passport with that information and the I-94. quite often I do audits and I just see the foreign passport listed there, no I-9, I-94. A passport alone, a foreign passport, it's not a list A document on its own. That's why some of these have, well, list A has various layers, because in some circumstances like this, it's a combination of documents, okay? So this little page here, this little slide, is one that you're probably going to repeat quite a few times when you're hiring a new foreign national. So that's why it's there for you as an example, okay? So again, at the top, you're going to have the employee name. Typically on the citizenship, all the way at the top is going to be a 4 because they're legally authorized to work for a, finite amount of time. And then you have all the information on list A, and in this particular case, their I-94 expires on 5/25/2022. So you would be looking to re-verify this person and let them know probably 100 days ahead. I don't know what, sometimes I recommend 120 days, considering all the delays that we have going on. You will let them know, hey, by the way, your status is expiring. Let's get working on it. And sometimes they come to you because they know that that's happening. Okay, so far so good. All right, so this one is, so what this documents look like. So typically it's going to be a foreign passport that is valid. And I put Indian passport here because a lot of clients, so the foreign nationals that we work with are from India or China. Some Latin American, all over the world really, but okay. And the form I-94, you can see it in 2 different ways. You may see the I-94 from USCIS, which is at the bottom of the approval notice of the work visa, and that's the top there that is redacted. Or it's going to look like the bottom form I-94 from CBP, and you will see those in situations where the foreign national had to go abroad to activate their visa status, their work visa status. So they had to come in through CBP to activate it. So their approval notice do not have an I-94 at the bottom. So it's the I-94 card from CBP that you're going to be seeing. Okay, so this is screenshot of what the documents you're going to be looking at for many of your foreign workers. Okay. So here's when so take a deep breath with me, because it can get a little bit complex. So far it's been literally almost fundamental. And then when I started working on all this, I was like, oh my goodness, I know you guys have so much going on. So hopefully this will, I know this will help you and will save you time going forward. So deep breath, bear with me through all this complexity. Extension of a stay, extension of work authorization for same employer, okay? So you have your H-1B person, and again, this particular one could be an H, could be any work visa. It could be the H, it could be the O, it could be the TN, it could be any 3, it could be an L. The work visa holder is invalid, so they're in status right now. Their status doesn't expire until, say, the end of the year. So when we file that extension for you, the person is in invalid status. USCIS receives the petition while that person was in the status. Again, considering we're doing a lot of overnight mailing through to USCIS right now, even though we have plenty of time. It's amazing what's happening with the mail. So all of this needs to be checked. In status, USCIS receives the well, they're in status. As long as these things happen, then your employee, the beneficiary in USCIS's world, becomes automatically authorized to work for you, the same employer, for 240 days. So this is a 240-day extension. So say, again, it's the end of the year, that H-1B status is expiring. and you know that you're going to need to re-verify, you decided you were not going to premium process the extension because it's costing $2,500. In some cases, I recommend that you do. In some cases, really depending on the circumstances of the case, you may decide not to premium. So now you have an employee that is expiring at the end of the year. We were proactive, we're proactive, and we filed the extension in October, say. But at the end of the year, well, actually, when it's filed, you know that is going to come up at the end of the year that you're going to have to re-verify. When that petition is filed, or at the end of the year, when the tickler comes up and you have to do the re-verification, by then you should have a receipt notice of the petition filing. And then what you do in that little box that we have now that it says additional information, I'm going to show you the next slide what this looks like. Actually, let's go there now. So again, you have someone that you had already verified, list A, your passport, the I-94 card, and they're due for a re-verification. You file the extension prior to the current status expiring. You have the receipt notice that USCIS received that extension filing. On that additional information, you're going to put 240-day extension. The day that the filing was submitted to USCIS, you can put see evidence of filing attached, because sometimes we don't get the receipt notices for a while, depending on how it's been filed. Or you could attach the FedEx receipt. Ideally, you want to attach the receipt notice. And then the 240-day begins to run from, and this is in green, from the expiration of the prior authorized stay. So now you have someone that even though they haven't been approved for the new extension, they can continue to work for you automatically for 240 days while that petition is pending. When this rule was created, most extensions were being adjudicated within 240 days, which is a fair amount of time for USCIS to process petitions. But in the last year, literally, we have come to cases where the 240 days were arriving and the petition had not been adjudicated. So in those cases, because the person is only authorized to work until the 240 days. So in those cases, we have as a team decided, you know what, this is time to premium process the petition, get it approved, and get that extension. So you do have to be mindful of the timing, the time that is taking for these things to process. But hey, here's a gift of 240 days extension that you can count on for a lot of this work visas. Okay, so hopefully that's a gem. I've never added the extension info in the additional info box. Sure, go back to that would be a good idea. So you could, yes, especially if you're taking advantage of it. You could, you can say self-audit or whatever, and then incorporate that into the note. Because if you do get audited, they're going to be looking for this. Okay. Okay. So hopefully for those of you, that is a good gem of information that you're going to take from today. Now, another deep breath, because I'm going into H-1B world that has their own rules. Actually some pretty good rules, but it takes some thinking. So for most of you, you may have experienced this awesome cap gap. When I started practicing immigration, this did not exist. So as much as I complain about how horrible things can be today, I can also remember times when things were worse than today. And this was one of them. When I started practicing, if the person was an OPT, the OPT ended, they were going home. And then they will come back to the United States September 30th or September, I think it's 10 days before the start date. So they could come in on September 20th for a start date of October 1st. But now we have this wonderful gap extension. Where if the petition is filed, receipt, they're selected on the cap or under the cap, and they're invalid EAD status, that work authorization gets extended all the way through September 30th. So it's awesome. But how do you record that on the I-9? Because what you're going to end up with on your I-9s is someone that has an EAD that is expiring and you need to re-verify. So what do you do? So in those situations, similar to before, now we have an employment authorization document that is going to expire August 2021. They were selected under the lottery. They were in valid employment authorization status when they were selected. So they'll go under the cap gap, under additional information you're going to put, because you're going to have to re-verify them come August. So you would put gap extension through September 30th. Now this see attached I-120, it's a new guidance, new from a year ago when they updated the employer manual. Before that was the receipt notice for the filing of the H-1B, or the receipt for the selection. And I think you could go fine with either one. The reason I think they went with the I-29 attached is because, again, the receipts are taking forever to be issued. But either way, this is how you would document the gap extension when someone is on an EAD waiting for their H-1B to be adjudicated, okay? Transfer to a new employer. Okay, so this is another one. This is only H-1B. So remember, this whole section is all about some little special rules that the H-1B have. And this is a pretty cool rule that only applies to H-1Bs. And it's funny, when I was preparing for this presentation, this AC21, which refers to, oh gosh, I knew it yesterday, now I forget today, but it's something to do. Maybe Alan, if you're in there, the AC21 refers to a legislation that was passed in 2020. So 2020 or 2000, I think 2000, it's old, to supposedly bring the immigration processing into the 21st century. So that's why the 21st. And here we are today, still using the same rule. But the good thing about it is, and some of you I know we're using this rule for many of our clients. So you have someone that is on valid H-1B status for working for somebody else, only H-1Bs. You transfer the off American competitiveness in the 21st Century Act. Thanks, Alan. Yeah. So yeah, it was 2000, I think, that came into light. You have someone that you're transferring to you that has been in H-1B status for somebody else. Again, that status continues to be valid when you transfer them to you. You do not have to wait until that H-1B gets approved in order for them to begin working for you. In certain situations, I do recommend that the process is premium and the foreign national can pay for that if they want to. When the case is complex, when there are situations in their immigration history that I might not be too comfortable with, that you may not be too comfortable with, you know, there are situations where we decide as a team that let's just premium process this so that they can start and you know for sure that they're authorized to work, because you don't want them working unauthorized. But there are some cases that are pretty clean cases that we're pretty sure that this is going to be approved. So in those situations, once we get the receipt notice from USCIS that the petition has been accepted, that person can give their 20 days, their 2-week notice or whatever notice they need to give, and they can start working for you. In those situations, again, what you're going to do is a little different than what you did before. You're going to use the foreign passport. You're going to use the approval notice that they had from their prior employer. In this case, they had an expiration of 9/30/2022. And you're going to put on your additional note, AC21, this American Competitiveness Act, AC21 extension, again, when it was filed with USCIS 07/30/2021, and then the evidence that it was submitted for filing with USCIS. And this employee now can continue to work for you until that petition is approved, which hopefully is now it's taking 4 to 6 months for those H-1Bs to get approved. If they're premium process, again, about 15 days. So hopefully these are two little rules that only apply to H-1Bs that are really pretty nice to have. But it can get complicated as to how you document this on the I-9s. And then for this particular situation, again, when that approval comes through, you would go into section 3 and you would complete in. Actually, I have a slide that shows what that's going to look like. So this is the sample of I-9 for the H-1B AC21 reverification. Again, they're going to give you a list A document potentially that has their current passport with the Form I-94 at the bottom of the approval notice, and then the new expiration date, which would be for you, and then you complete section 3. Okay. So far, so good. I'm actually, this 224-day extension and the AC21 extensions can be a little complicated. So we did this little slide for you so that you can kind of picture it, how this would work. The 240-day extension, again, it can only be used for an extension when the same employer is involved, and is for most of the work visas, including the H-1Bs, continuing employment with the same employer. And then you have this unique situation with the AC21, where they can transfer, they're an H-1B holder, change into a new employer that you can transfer them to you under this AC21 to begin work before their petition is approved. Okay, so far so good. Are you all with me? I'm not losing you yet. Should I use a new I-9 form or a blank piece of paper when I have to re-verify someone a few times over the years of employment? Yeah, okay, good question. So what is recommended, if you can do that, you almost need to do that if the form is new, okay? So make sure, even if you're going to re-verify it and the re-verification section is blank, but the form is no longer valid, then you would need to use the new I-90 form, and you can just go to the section 3. So I would not use a blank piece of paper. So I would just use again the new. You could use a new I-9 form if section 3 has already been used from a prior re-verification, or again if the form has changed. I hope that answers. Another question from the Q&A. Okay, thanks. Because yeah, I'm not looking at the Q&A, and my brain is kind of. What happens when you do that a few times? There's no space left on the form. Okay, so that comes back to, yeah, this comes back to, maybe it's the same, but that's what happens. So let's say, and I'm sure, yeah, some of you have H-1B workers that are with you for quite a number of years. So again, you would use that section 3 ongoing, or if the form has expired, so let's say next year, the I-9 is a new form, then you would use the form that is valid at the time, okay? Okay. Okay, now we're going into the world of F-1 students. And what I did here is I did a little summary chart of the various status that you potentially see. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail into all of them because I want to make sure that we go through what I have for you. But do know that this is here. You will get a recording of the presentation, so you can, go back through this. I know it's a lot of content on it. Believe me, I took out things, just kind of trying to make it as simple as I could. So you have CPT, and those are typically employees that are going to school, but they're actually training, so they have some work time as part of their curriculum. Then you have OPT, and typically these are those that have graduated either from a bachelor's degree or master's degree, and they get a 1 year or 12-month employment authorization card, and they're working for you on OPT. And then there's the STEM OPT. Again, when I started practicing, STEM OPT did not exist. So whenever I see someone that has a STEM OPT and tells me, should I review or should I apply? I'm like, yes, that is a gift. It allows them to work for another 24 months beyond the 12. It's limited depending on the degrees that are eligible and other things, but it is a gift. So those are the three that you're likely to see. And how does that work? So for section 1, you know, they're going to put their work authorized. So section 1, you can see in here what happens. They're going to put their work authorized typically until whatever the day, the CPT end date, the EAD end date, or in the STEM OPT is the one that gets a little bit tricky. I get this question asked a lot. It is, you have to dig very deep on the USCIS website to figure out the answer. So for CPT is this one I want you to pay attention to. Well, I want you to pay attention to everything, but CPT, I get this question asked a lot. Oh my God, what do I do? Because this is the one that you have to use all 3 boxes on that list A section. They have to give you an unexpired foreign passport, the form I-94 showing the F-1 status, and the form I-20, which is the one that they get from school with their school official endorsement for CPT. So all 3 of those are listed on their section, under the list A, or they could give you a list B and a list C document, okay? Then you go under OPT. OPT is pretty straightforward. Unexpired EAD, that's what you use. STEM OPT, typically the unexpired EAD, but quite often what's happening now is that they file to get the new EAD, but the new EAD has not come through yet because of delays. So what they're giving you is the expired EAD with form I-20 endorsed by the DSO saying they're authorized to work. I want you to know that that is an acceptable combination of documents for 180 days. So I put that at the bottom in red because, again, it's very, very difficult to find that in the USCIS website. But some of you may have that specific situation, okay? So this is an example of what that would look like. You would have the expired or the expiring EAD. You would look at the receipt notice from when that EAD was filed, and that EAD had to have been filed before, receipted before the expiration of the EAD. So 1, properly filed, the expiration proper, or the extension properly filed before the expiration of the current EAD. The categories need to be the same. This comes up a lot, that they kind of know this rule, but the categories are different. The categories are different, and this would not apply. But if the categories are the same, this applies. And then again, then you have the 180 days. Now, this is where the STEM OPT comes in. On the list of categories, when this is acceptable, because this happens more than just for STEM. It happens for a lot of other categories. These are the ones that you're going to see the most. Refugee, asylees, especially the C9, the people that are filing for adjustment of status. All of these categories get this 180-day automatic extension. I have no idea why the STEM OPT is not listed in this category, in this list. With this list, it has a lot of categories. So you're not going to find it here, but it is applicable, okay? All right, this is, again, what it's going to look like. They're going to give you an employment authorization document. You're going to verify what the extension, the new extension date is. You're going to sign, you're going to date, you're going to put your name, and you're good, right? Okay. We have covered a lot. So what I actually have a section here about testing. So let me just do 1 or 2 of these. making sure that you're still with me. Is it a good rule of thumb that when I re-verify it in the I-9 form, I need to, yes. Yeah, it is. Because again, one triggers the other, okay? So I'm gonna go through just a few of these and then I'm gonna stop because I wanna cover a few other things. So this is all for you. So I wanna see you, make sure that you're all awake and with me. Do I need to verify the authenticity of the I-9 documents provided by my employee? Yes, no, it depends. What do you say? Yes, no, it depends. Do I need to verify the authenticity of the documents provided by my employee? Okay. We have yes, we have no's, we have no's. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, here we go. Let me go back. The answer is no. Okay. So so this is good for you. As HR professionals that you're not required to be a document expert. Okay. So you don't need to go and search whether the social security number has certain codes and this and the other. So you don't need to verify the authenticity. What you do need to know the test is whether the document looks reasonable, it looks reasonably valid and relates to the person that they are presenting. Okay, so the document appears genuine, appears reasonably genuine, something like what you would expect a green card. And that's why I kind of giving you pictures, and I know you've seen all of this. So that's what you're looking for. Now, if you see something that doesn't look anything like what you normally see, and believe me, I get some of that, then you should not accept it. Okay. Okay, let me do the second one here. My F-1 CPT employee presented, actually this is a tough one, so I'm going to skip this because I want you to leave here with a good feeling. Do I need to re-verify an employee who provided a valid green card with an expiration upon hiring? We touched on this. Do I need to re-verify an employee who provided a valid green card with an expiration upon hiring? What did you say? A valid green card, when you hire the person, it has an expiration date. What do you do? Do you need to re-verify? Yes, no, it depends. Probably yes, no, no. Okay, anybody else? Okay, I'm going to give you the answer. So this is the one that we touched on. So green cards, as long as they're valid when they're giving them to you, and I'm literally talking about the little card, like it looks like an employment authorization document. There are other forms of green cards, a stamp and a passport, primarily, that's the one that I'm thinking of, that do need to be re-verified. That's the conversation for another webinar. For the purposes of this webinar and the things that you're going to encounter, if they just give you a regular valid looking green card and it's valid, you're good to go. You don't have to re-verify. Okay. I'm going to skip a lot of these. They're all really good, but I think, all right, I need your help. So I'm doing this because, again, questions that I get. Okay, thanks, Alan. Yeah, so she just put a note on about the CPT stem so that you all know, because this happens for many of you. I'm doing a lot of this for all of you. So if you were to choose one of these topics for the next presentation, well, first let me ask you, did you learn something from this presentation? Just put on the chat, yes, no, hopefully say yes, and maybe whatever it is that you learned. was a good use of your time today. Okay, awesome. All right. So terrific. I appreciate it. I appreciate you because I mean, I'm doing this so that we all do this better together. So for the future, these are some of the things that I have. Overview of the I-9 verifications for all workers. So that would be kind of from the beginning. The issues like different names and other things. I got a social security that says restricted. Can I accept that? Things like that. How do I, correct a mistake or whatever? So overview of the I-9, all of these topics, okay? Remote hirings on I-9s, advanced I-9 verification for foreign workers. And when I say advanced, it's kind of the stuff that I didn't cover here, like the green cards that need to be verified that are, or other things that I just skipped because I was like, oh, or an I-9 audit process, fine mitigations, or anything else. So if you had to pick on those, what would you pick? Okay, all right. So I get how to self-audit, all of these topics. Anybody else? I typically get remote hires, audit, okay. All right, cool. So if you have, again, this is for you. So if you have other ideas, you can send them our way. I am also working on this I-9 employment verification e-guide. I'm really proud of the work that we have put in here. Some of you have received an advanced copy of the draft. It's work in progress. I am adding a chapter in here about electronic I-9s. I am adding some of the things that we just cover about the foreign workers. What is in the ebook right now is not as detailed as we just covered. It has guidance for employers on conducting I-9 audits. So again, I'm really, really proud of the work that we have put into putting this together based on the feedback that I received from you guys. So as part of the, at the end of the webinar today, you will get a copy of the recording or a recording of this. You will get the first slide that I showed about the let's do an I-9 that kind of outlines the process. And you will also get a link to download the current version of this e-guide. I think it's about 45 pages or 50 pages right now. It's not dense. I mean, it has a lot of examples. It has a lot of things to do and what not to do. And so I love for you to download it, to use it, to let me know what you think, for other things that you would like to see in there, because this is for you, okay? I thank you all for being here. I love working with many of you. I mean, you're doing phenomenal work and we're just here to support you. So thank you, thank you, thank you from our team to you, okay? Have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.